What's up guys, Kryzarel here. This video is not about any specific subject, instead we are going to fix and improve a few long-standing issues. We're going to remove the need for a custom script execution order. We are also going to fix tooltips not hiding when we equip and unequip items and when we hide the inventory window. We're also going to slightly change the way that we add items to the inventory. When adding stackable items, we'll first look for a stack that still has space before filling empty slots. And after that, we're going to change the way that we add the starting items to the inventory to use this new method so that we can add a bunch of stackable items. And lastly, we're going to fix a bug in the item count method where we are only counting a stack of items as a single item instead of using the entire amount. So I finally figured out exactly why the events sometimes were not assigned properly. So C# events are essentially just lists of methods that are going to run when you call the event. So when we assign, by using the += operator, to the event, if we are assigning a regular method, then it's just going to be added to the list. But when we have two events, and we assign event B to event A, instead of storing the reference to event B in event A, which is what I thought it was doing, instead, C# just copies the entire list of methods from event B into the list of methods from event A. Most of the time, this is no issue at all. However, if we later need to add a new method to event B, this change is not going to be reflected in event A. But in our case, this is what we want. The fix for this is actually quite simple if you think about it. Instead of trying to assign event B directly to event A, instead we are going to assign a method that calls event B to event A. And luckily for us, we don't have to create new methods for each of these events because C# has anonymous functions, or as you might also know them, lambda expressions. So we're going to create anonymous functions that receive as an argument a base item slot and then call the event passing in that same argument. And we need to repeat this process in all of the scripts where we assign events directly to other events. Those are the inventory, the equipment panel, the crafting window, and the crafting recipe UI. After these changes, we can now remove all of our scripts from the script execution order window. So now let's fix the tooltips not hiding when we close the inventory window. And let's also fix them not hiding when we equip an item and the item has moved to the equipment panel and is no longer under our mouse. The first bug has to do with an issue with Unity where it doesn't trigger the pointer exit event when the object is disabled. I'm not entirely sure if this can actually be considered a bug, since the issue has been reported on Unity's issue tracker and they marked it as closed and tagged it with won't fix. Fortunately, the workaround for this is quite simple. We need to implement the onDisable function that is standard to all mono behaviors, just as start and update. And then inside that method, we need to call onPointerExit. We'll pass null as the argument because we don't actually have a pointer event data here, but that's okay because this argument is never used inside the function. But obviously, we can only do this if the mouse is over this game object. Otherwise, we are going to call the pointerExit method for all of the item slots, even if the mouse is nowhere near them. So let's just add a new boolean variable. We'll set it to true in the onPointerEnter method and set it to false in the onPointerExit method. In the onDisable method, we'll then call onPointerExit only if isPointerOver is true. For the other bug, essentially we need an item slot that has the mouse over it to refresh the state of the tooltip when an item is added or removed to that slot. I believe that the most robust way to do this is to simulate as if we removed our mouse from over the slot and then moved it back over again. So whenever our item changes and we had our mouse already over that slot, we essentially retrigger the mouse over, causing the tooltip to refresh. While we are here, I also want to add a few extra conditions to the item setter and the amount setter. I would like to set the amount to 0 automatically whenever we assign null to the item, and conversely, I would like to set the item to null automatically whenever the amount reaches 0. We just need to be careful and use the correct variables here. When assigning 0 to the amount and null to the item, we need to use the public property because we actually want the setter for that property to run. Now I want to go into the item container script, scroll down to the bottom, and fix the item count method. We are only increasing our count by 1 whenever we find a slot with a matching item, but now that we have stacking, we need to increase it by the number of items in that stack. Now, going back up, I want to change our addItem method to put stackable items in an existing stack that isn't yet full before putting it in an empty slot. With our current behavior, if we have our coins set up like this, when we try to add new ones, instead of filling the existing stack, it's going to start adding it to the first empty slot that it finds. And the fix for this is actually very easy. Let's copy the entire for loop, and the first time that the loop runs, we only want to check if we can add the stack. The second time, now we want to check if we can add it to any empty slots. With this change, we can now go into our inventory script and change the way that we add the starting items to actually make use of stacking. We were originally setting the starting items by assigning them directly to each slot, but now we can make use of the addItem method. But we can't just continually add items every time the onValidate method runs. We need to clear all of the slots first. Since clearing all of the slots seems like something that could be generally useful for all item containers, let's actually move this into its own method in the item container class, and then create the method definition for it in the interface as well. And finally, we need to call this new method before adding the starting items. So that's it for this video. As always, thank you for watching, I hope you have enjoyed, see you next time.